I mean, right into October, it was a constant nagging um, thoughts and feelings of wanting to commit suicide, not telling anybody, trying to just act okay and normal. On October 11th, I was talking with a roommate at the time, and I remember just talking to them about what was going on with my kids, and just the guilt and shame and everything that went along with that. And she left. She had to go to a job, and I remember being alone in the house. At this point, I had already kind of planned, what I would do. I ended up overdosing on a medication that was prescribed to me. I ended up taking a whole bottle of this medication. I don't remember sending a text. I'd already taken the medication. And I sent a text to a woman that was just really a spiritual mentor in my life, that I was done and goodbye, and just, I just can't do this anymore, and, please let everyone know. It was just one of those texts, and I don't ever remember sending that. It was all pretty, I had talked to her later, it was all pretty coherent, which is weird because I was already not conscious. So it got her to the house, and I was already passed out. She couldn't, wake me up, called the ambulance. They had to send me to trauma center. I was considered brain dead. There was no brain activity, no consciousness, went into a coma. And a couple days later ended up, waking up in the ER at a trauma center, with just every tube, all over the place. And I just remember, the people around me were, the place that I went to, Captive Hearts, like everyone there, everyone from the founder to the directors, to my friends, to people from churches, around my bed, just praying. And I don't think it hit me till later. I remember waking up and I was angry. Again, that I had woken up, There was a social worker and a nurse. I stayed at the hospital a couple days, and, I had lost my voice, and I was still really cognitively, really not okay, confused. I mean, it took some time to heal. And I remember them, saying what a miracle it was that I had woken up, that I was even alive. Really, they had lost hope. They were just kind of waiting for me to die. And she made a comment like, if you didn't believe in God, like, I never talked to this woman before. I don't know who she is. But just that comment of, like, you have to know there's a God out there, like, that you're awake and you're sitting here. And it took some time to reflect, after all that happened, and I went, to hospital. I remember someone calling, my dad and letting him know what happened. I really didn't want that to happen. I remember him telling me that he needed to tell my girls. Facing those kind of consequences, and like having to understand fully like what they were hearing, and them knowing, what I did and what I experienced. And, after that attempt and getting out, I remember thinking, like, what didn't I do last time? What do I need to do different? I saw how many people were around me who cared, who loved me. And honestly, like, in a lot of years to see that, especially experiencing like what I have with people, and not being able to accept love or ask for help or trust anyone, and seeing like how my choices affected other people. I think that was an eye-opener for me. I always have been able to do these things and it only would affect me, or other people wouldn't know what I was doing, or a suicide made to look like an accident, or just never really having to see like what my choices, like how it affected the people around me. And it was a pretty eye-opening experience. And with my kids, like hearing how it made them feel. I remember my middle daughter saying to me, Mom, we've always thought that you were trying to kill yourself. We never knew, like, if we would find you, alive. She was 13 at that time, and she's talking about like what she had to live with, just I think after that time, and just not wanting to ever get to that point again, I started really doing some work and really trying to figure out why I always got to that point. One of the things that, and in prayer, like just praying, like, God, like this is a problem. For whatever reasons, you're not taking me. This isn't working. Like, if I have to be here, I want to live. Like, I don't want to just keep surviving myself and surviving, these struggles. And so there was a couple things. I mean, one was to get rid of my plan B. Like, I always had that plan. If things don't pan out, if I can't do this, if I'm not fixable, like just setting myself up to have an escape route. That's what I did with, coming into Captive Hearts. I had that in the back of my mind. If this doesn't work, and obviously when I messed up, that's when those thoughts like started rolling. It was just kind of that self given prophecy of what I was gonna do. I was trying to recover, and I was trying to recover myself, my relationships, my life, and move forward. And I remember a huge thing for me was that I needed to choose life. That I had went a lifetime without, choosing life. I was angry at life. I didn't understand life. I was always trying to escape life. And I practiced. I had to practice that choice of life choosing to recover from anything, choosing to grow, to move forward, is choosing life. When you're an addict, and you go into recovery, you're not just doing it for reasons unknown. Like, that is like, a physical step of like choosing, because like it's going to be one or the other. And it was like I was choosing to try to get better at life. I was choosing to try not to fail at life, and it made a huge difference, I think, in my walk in recovery, in my walk with letting people in, and remembering that my choices aren't just mine, being aware of other people's feelings, accepting that other people did love me and had my best interest. They weren't there to get something or to try to continue to hurt or abuse or any of those things. I had this network of people in my corner, wanting to see me succeed, and not just succeed, not just go through those steps, but wanting to heal and to forgive, self-forgiveness, forgiving other people. That's been a huge one, forgiving myself, even through like all the stuff in my childhood, forgiving myself for how I chose to react to all those situations, how much like anger and self-hatred I had about what kind of coping skills I chose, like how messed up were all those, like why would I choose to do that? I thought I was so smart for, getting through my life with the coping skills that I chose that, ended up hurting me later in life. Like they all really started working against me. Choosing not to escape the present. Honestly, that's still something I have to work on today, is being present in the moment. For someone like me, that doesn't come naturally. I always, even in the moment of things, am behind somewhere thinking, in the past, or ahead, stressing about what's going on in the future. Using distractions in my life to get through a day. Like, that's something that I, like, still today have to work on, is being present in the reality of what, my life is. It'll be 2 years in October since that, and the work that I've done, I'll have 2 years sober then. I have a relationship with my kids, a pretty good one, just a constant communication. I got to see them this weekend, celebrate my oldest birthday. I work, at a rehab for women. And I get to bring, my hope and my healing to other broken women. Like, it's easy for me to spot that same desperateness, I guess, or brokenness, and have, a heart for it. Just my own experience, being able to connect with people, to really say how much you understand, and you really do. I haven't struggled with feeling suicidal in almost 2 years. That, for me, has been pretty amazing At first, I would get nervous about it. Like, I was really on edge of like ever starting to have a feeling about it. I was more like paranoid, like when, like if it's going to start, when is it going to start, what to do to avoid those feelings, because those feelings for me were so dangerous. It took me to literally, what could have been the end of my life. And so trying to be super aware of like, how does this start? What do I do different? Being honest about like how I feel. Like, even if someone like just would have flat out asked me, and I know that's like a hard, very bold question, to ask someone just directly, like, do you struggle with wanting to kill yourself? Do you have thoughts of wanting to harm or kill yourself? I don't know if that would have, helped. I think about it and I feel like it could have, at some point just kind of made a window for me, to crawl out of, just kind of, burst that bubble of pressure. I think like my girls had that sense because they were the closest to me. Me trying to be okay for them, like that was another one of those pressures, like you can't be okay for somebody else. I think it starts with like admitting that you're not okay, and that there is freedom in that statement, and people get to that place in different ways. For me, it was honestly, it took losing everything and everything like outwardly, obviously not being okay. You can never be okay enough for other people. And you can't ever be more okay without admitting that things aren't okay. And even just to let people know I'm a safe person. Like if things aren't ever, do that with your introduction of yourself with your friends. It's like if things are ever not okay, it's okay, Whether it's like a chemical imbalance or past traumas or, something devastating happening in your life right now that leads you to that same feeling. All of our stories are different, but the feelings are the same. My life was not most people's stories, but what the things that I felt in that, I could talk to somebody with a completely different, I could talk to, a kid that grew up in a rich family and got everything, but his parents were missing emotionally, mentally, or there's addiction or, whatever it was. And our feelings of being alone, being scared, not feeling that, all that kind of stuff, like each person choosing to be that person in your people's lives, just even standing up, and whether something was wrong or not wrong, just being that person, like, hey, if ever anything's not okay, like I'm a safe person. However you have that conversation, like my door is always open, I'm only a phone call away, or I think just making that presence known, that awareness of not that I'm fixed and everything's always going to be okay now, but knowing the potential of where my life choices and where my silence will take me, and that, for me, I don't want to ever get to that place. So just even in that, just being aware and being honest